What is up, everybody? It's your boy Phil Shocker, the nicest Hedgehog here with our Week 5 WWC Team Builder going against Harv and his Haxorus. I actually did not look up his team name before we started this Team Builder. I do apologize to you, Harv. But anyways, we are here for Week 5. We are currently sitting 4-0, top of the leaderboards right now. Harv is sitting, I believe, currently at number 5 or 6. No, number 6 in the divisions right now. He is 2-2 right now. He would really need this win to keep his playoff hopes alive because if he loses this one, his playoff shots are still in there, but it makes it a bit more harder for him to get there. For us, one more win 100% clinches us a spot in the playoffs, guaranteed. So definitely some big things to go from there. But we're obviously going to keep trying to go and win every single game that we possibly can. We have definitely gotten a little bit lucky in some matches, and then some we have played extremely well. So definitely looking forward to also playing against Harb. I've never played against Harb before in my life, so I'm looking to have a good, fun matchup here, and we'll see where it goes. So if you guys are excited, if you like, haven't already, subscribe if you are new. Join the Fish Crew today because you'll be feeling with the king of the crew. And with that being said, let us go ahead and get into this matchup. So looking at Harb's draft, he's actually got a really, really hard team here to prep for on paper. In terms of how it works together is a little undetermined, but it's definitely a bit of a hard team to prep for. He's got Rotom Wash, Shuckle, Weavile, Zygarde 50, Azelf, Porygon 2, Charizard, Hitmonlee, Mega Scizor, Garbodor, Probopass, aka Mario, and Rote in the Tapu Bulu. So his team is kind of all over the place. He's actually been doing relatively well with a couple of mons. Like he actually got a kill with his Probopass killing the Celesteela against Jetman, which I find funny. Excuse me. There's a Magnet Pull. He's got some very scary threats. There's Weavile, Zygarde, even to things to some degree like Azel. The Duck is one of his best mons on the team, so it's definitely a big threat right there. I have been able to handle myself against the Porygon 2 for a couple of times, so I kind of know my way around it. So, but it's definitely we have a tough matchup regardless, though. So I'm really looking forward to this matchup. But I think we built a pretty decently good team. But looking at Harb's draft, there's no way he's bringing Bulu. Bulu just does not match up well against my entire draft. It does not do anything against me, so I definitely do not expect Bulu. Probopass is a little annoying, but it realistically cannot beat my Genesect, even if it magnet pulls me, unless for some reason Magic Lands fire coverage, which it does not. I always do beat it though, unless it is assault vested. If it's assault vested, it actually has a chance to 1v1 me, so that is a very good possibility. So I gotta be a little careful about that in terms of the 1v1. Garbodor is definitely a little annoying. I don't have hazard removal as the best options on my draft, so it's definitely something we have to be very careful and very mindful of. So definitely something to note there. But regardless, though, I definitely can see Garbodor brings hazards as a bit of an issue. Mega Scizor is a good, decent possibility. It's a decently good answer to a couple of things in my team, but it's very, very passive in terms of a 1v1ing. Like if Dracovish is in front of this thing, Dracovish just gets a KO. There's nothing you can do to stop Dracovish from just getting a KO against you, which is really, really good unless you are like super. Excuse me, unless you're super defensive in some way and live one hit, but otherwise can't do much. It's a decent good answer though. It's definitely something I could see him be bringing because I don't really have too much for it. So it could be something to note with that. Hitmonlee, definitely a big threat right there. Unburden is such a scary offensive idea with this mon. If it is White Herb Curse, it's definitely problematic, but it's actually less of an issue because of the reason being that it just can't do too much against my team, actually, with that said. Because Hitmonlee has to have coverage. It has to have fighting coverage, fire coverage, poison coverage, ground coverage, dark coverage, this and that. It needs the coverage to face my team in order to beat everything it needs to beat. Otherwise, it just straight up loses. So it's definitely a mon that can definitely come just reliably well. It could be Scarf Reckless with high jump kick potentially, so that's also another there. And now Charizard. I always trash talk about Charizard, but in this matchup, Charizard's a little scary. Charizard's not as scary of a mon for me to face off in this matchup, but it is definitely something I am very terrified to face if he does bring it, just because I don't have a lot of checks to that thing. My water type is my best answer, but if you get the Dragon Dance off and it does get access to Dragon Claw and Outrage and all Dragon moves, and if it's full special, I really can't beat it. If it's physical, I can kind of check it. If it's special, I can kind of check it. But again, it's forced into the move set. If it runs agility 3 attacks, if it runs roost 3 attacks, if it runs dragon dance 3 attacks, it's got to have fire ground. It loses that option to run flying stab. Flying stab would be really good to hit things against something like my Hitmonchan potentially, and to run things against my Serena. Excuse me. And the reason why it would be good against my Serena, which is because that way if he goes for flying stab, anything I want to try to cover in on a fire type switch in, such as like my Dragonfish and stuff, kind of gets checked by that. So something like that's very important to know. But looking for the main six, Rotom Wash is super annoying for my draft to have to face. It's definitely a hard one to beat. I do think he is going to bring Shuckle since the fact that he's been seeing that I don't bring hazard removal. I think he takes this opportunity to definitely bring Shuckle in terms of trying just to remove the hazards on my side of the field. So definitely something to note with that. In terms of this, Weavile is just a massive threat against my team. I don't really have a lot for it. It's definitely a big problem. Zygarde, enormous problem. And I meant to say enormous, not enormous. But it's definitely a big issue. I could see this thing definitely being a little bit defensive with Dragon Dance, or it could just be straight up defensive with Coil as well. Coil would definitely suck. Excuse me. Coil could definitely suck, but it's not the end of the world type of thing. So definitely a note there. Azelf, very threatening mon. I do not have a lot of switch-ins to Azelf at all on my team. I could see Azelf literally bring Psychic, Dazzling Gleam, Flamethrower, and Nasty Plot. It could definitely be a Focus Sash mon. It can definitely be Cobra Berry. It can definitely be a couple of items. It could be Expert Bell. It could be Life Orb. It could run a good myriad of a couple of things. So overall, it's definitely a threatening mon, and I'm definitely going to be stressing over that. The duck is a big problem just because of the fact that the duck is just stupidly defensive. I do expect this to be more of a Spadef duck than Fizdef duck, just because of the fact that my team leans a little towards the special side, and from what I've been bringing, I bring most of my mons to be kind of special versus physical. So definitely something to note there. But with that being said, let's go ahead and break down the team we are bringing. Excuse me. Kicking it off, we got Zero Aura here, which we haven't been able to use effectively. Actually, I don't think we've been bringing it to many games, and we haven't really been using it to our best abilities. But I think this is the matchup for Zero Aura to just literally claim KOs and just get stuff. Sub Bulk Up really just beats his team. There's nothing a lot of his team can really do. Like against Rotom, I can get a free Bulk Up here if he tries to Will-O-Wisp me because has to go for Hydro Pumps. If he's gonna miss his Hydro Pumps, it's gonna be there. I can potentially PP stall out of his power Hydro Pumps because he only gets 8, but I have to be very mindful of how much I spam sub and how much he has to be careful playing around the games of clicking sub or for clicking Hydro versus Willow in that regard. But sub bulk up literally just wins. Once I get one or two bulk ups up, there's nothing on his team that really wants to start taking the offense that I have. Play rough plus plasma fist, everything for super effective to neutral damage. And even if he leads off with something like the Shuckle, it gives me a free bulk up, and in front of Rotom, I always click bulk up as he has to be forced to click Hydro Pump. And if I'm basically if is Rotom's not super physically defensive, which it could be mixed defensive, it could be mixed in terms of what, but its nature obviously will determine how more defensive it will be in those regards. So there's that to note for a Stanford, but otherwise I can pretty much just beat everything on his team with Zero. There's nothing on his team that really beats it at all. I mean, there's nothing that his team really can do to beat this thing. It is faster than max speed Azelf. It is not faster than max speed um, Weavile, and there's a reason behind that. For one, I think he's always going to assume that this is faster than him, and he's always going to click Ice Shard. There's no way in heck he will click Icicle Crash Raw in front of me, unless he thinks he sees a way that I don't have a lot of speed. I have a chunk of speed on him. Because I think what he's going to assume is that I'm going to probably be adamant, pretty much near max speed, because that'll probably be enough speed to outspeed his, blah, 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 his, Weavile. Jeez, I blank on the name for one. Because I'll probably need to run at least about another 10 to 15 speed EVs into that, and that would definitely chunk up most of my HP, and I want to have at least a little bit of bulk in order to just kind of just do things. So there's that. But Zero, I think, it's just straight up be potentially a win con for this matchup. So I definitely think that's a really good possibility. Next, we have Techno Drive, who hasn't done a ton for us, but has not been the worst Pokemon we've had on our draft. It's definitely a good Mon. And I definitely think it's the Mon to really do well this matchup. So kicking it off right here, we have Energy Ball, Techno Blast, Ice Beam, and Electro Web. With the Electro Web is actually some pretty cool tech here because for one, it lowers the speed of everything on his team, which is really good here. Another really good thing about this Mon, and actually might change this set actually to be faster than Max Speed Zygarde. Just because actually I want to make sure I'm careful around Zygarde. So I believe I need to be 3. Okay. So also, if you hear purring, that's my cat. She come on. She likes to be a little of efficient with me. So yeah, but anyways, Techno Drive here, which we haven't been able to do too much work with, but it's definitely been putting in the work what it can be. It's definitely gonna be a great one for this matchup. A fantastic breaker in this game. Energy Ball, Techno Blast, Ice Beam, and Electro Web. What's really good about Electro Web is that in this matchup with still checks Charizard, it will roughly potentially 2 KO, and depending if we get the special attack boost or not, we get it, 100% 2 KOs it. And what's also really cool is that if he's choice Scarfed, we'll know that. I mean, do I want to really sacrifice my Genesect like that in a matchup where he can definitely put in a lot of work? Not realistically, no. But if it's worth it to know information about his Charizard, if he brings it, he's really good. If he doesn't bring Charizard, then it's not really that problematic. But I still think having Electro Web is very nice for this point of the for the match, just because it gives me the chance to control speed tiering in this matchup, which I think is really important for this game. So really think that Genesect can put in a ton of work this game and can just overall just be a fantastic Pokemon. So definitely really good. Again, the speed's going to be there for Zygarde, so we outspeed it, max speed just to be with it, max special attack just to hit extremely hard, and the rest for HP for some bulk. Up next, the Mon that is now in the top 5 for kill leaders. It is my boy Munch. After 2 games, it's 5-1 with Sub, Draco Meteor, Vicious Rent, and Super Fang. Now, this set, it's not I mean, it could, depending on his bulk, it could be a roll to kill with Vicious Rent. But the idea of this set is to sub Super Fang and then Draco Meteor. Now, Draco Meteor is probably not going to guarantee the KO on the Rotom, but basically Chips Rotom down to where if he breaks my sub, I then Vicious Rend for free against anything and everything on his team that does not take his hits. Because the only thing that can take this set is literally Bulu, but he can't bring Bulu. Bulu just does not match up against my draft. There'd be no way he brings Bulu. And if he does bring Bulu, I'm going to be extremely surprised because it makes no sense to bring Bulu against my draft. Especially when, even though, yes, Thousand Arrows won't get affected by it, any other of his mons that want to bring ground coverage can't unless they want to run high horsepower. That's the problem with having a team like mine. So definitely something to note with them there. But Munch here is designed to kind of just break and chip down team. It's another mon that we're running with Super Fang. I've actually recently have really just enjoying using Super Fang on my Pokemon, just because I think getting that guaranteed 50% chip, or if you're running odd number in HP, you get the relatively 50% chip. I think is super good. I think it's really very vital damage to get, especially when mons don't have reliable recovery. Because I don't expect the Pain Split on Rotom. I expect Volt Switch, Hydro Pump, probably Will-O-Wisp, and then the last move either being Thunderwave Toxic. If it's Pain Split, it's not that threatening. If it's Toxic or Will-O-Wisp, it's just annoying. So definitely something to note with that. So really expect quite a bit from Munch here. Munch is just going to be here, just going to be a little annoying, but also just to really do some damage. Up next, finally making her debut. I think should have made her debut last week, but hey, what happens, happens. But we're bringing thick our Serena this week, and it is super offensive. This is actually the first time I'm bringing a very hyper offensive Serena, I think, that's designed to literally just kill everything in sight. We're running high jump kick, triple axle, power up, and rapid spin. Rapid spin helps us get that speed boost. Also, it gives me a hazard remover for my draft, which I think is very important to know as well. Triple axle just checks Zygarde completely. It's Yachi Berry. It could live 3 hits from the triple axle, depending on how defensive it is. If it's really that bulky with the Yachi and all that stuff and all that. Triple axle is also a good check to counter Bulu, which I think is really cool. High jump kick is there to handle the duck. And I looked it up. If the duck is SPUDF, rapid spin into high jump kick is a roll to kill the duck. And if I look at the opportunity, just if I have to sacrifice Serena to a tri attack or an ice beam from the duck, in order to either really weaken it down to high jump kick, and then I can click Power Whip or click Rapid Spin again to get the KO or something like that. I'm going to take that opportunity. And we are going to run the Queen Bee Majesty ability. Now, with the Rapid Spin buff, I will be faster than Azelf. Azelf is his fastest Pokemon. So with the speed boost, I will be faster. And if he tries to Ice Shard me, boom, Queenly Majesty to stop it, so he can't do that. So it's definitely going to be in my advantage here going with Serena to go hyper offensive. And I decided to go hyper offensive because I just looked at the move set from Serena, and then just looking at his team, which doesn't really have much. So Serena is going to be a little bit of a remover, but it's also going to be a super strong breaker for our team going into this matchup. Also making his debut is going to be Little Mac rocking out with that Assault Vest, so we can take some hits there with Throat Chop, Ice Punch, Drain Punch, and Mach Punch. This is a pseudo mon that kind of needs to be brought to this matchup, but it kind of doesn't at the same time. This mon basically can just really weaken down a lot of my opponent's draft. He could think that I do have Serena and Hitmonchan. One could potentially have Spin, and then one could just be like support or offensive. So he's got to kind of play a role around that. Hitmonchan's role is to kind of be not exactly defensive. It's more so that Pokemon that just kind of just does things. So definitely something to note there. But this is definitely going to be playing the mind games with my opponent, because the fact is that if Weavile and this and Hitmonchan are in front of each other, Weavile 100% of the time is going to switch out. And then based on what he has, and depending on his switch outs, I can play around there with my Hitmonchan. If Hitmonchan is positioned correctly, a Throat Chop into Mach Punch, I do believe actually can KO the Azelf, which is also really, really cool, because if I do weaken down Azelf to the point where it is in Mach Punch range, I can actually go right into my Hitmonchan, click Mach Punch, let him think that, okay, I'm going to probably have to be sacking off my Mons in order to figure out a strategy, or I'm basically going to have to just say, GG, he's won. I bring this out to trick him into it, and bam, kill him on that. So I really think Hitmonchan has some viability in this matchup. I think definitely could put on a lot of work. If Scizor comes, this thing doesn't do a whole lot to Scizor, but can actually, I think, 1v1 Scizor in that setting, just because it can just be able to do a lot of damage towards him. But Ice Punch is there for the Zygarde. Throat Chop, like I said, is there for the Azelf. And again, we can just pretty much 1v1 about a good amount of things. I think the only thing we struggle to 1v1 is 100% the Garbodor, and it could also be the Charizard. Ice Punch is only relatively close to a KO. I could take one hit from Charizard and probably knock it out. So we can kind of beat Charizard 1v1, but I don't realistically want to waste and weaken down my Hitmonchan. This thing, Hitmonchan, is definitely designed to outspeed. Same thing with my Dracovish. I actually didn't go over my Dracovish set, but Dracovish is basically just an offensive defensive mon with enough speed to outspeed Rotom. So if Rotom carries speed, I'll know that for a fact right at the gate. That's definitely something to be very careful and very mindful about as well. But again, the rest is max HP, resting to attack, and 8 in defense. The assault vest I'm already super speed anyway, so I think having the assault vest just really makes more sense. And as one of these, you have Horus, Argalarian, Moltres, which I was kind of fiddling around to figure out how I wanted to set. I was thinking of maybe like agility or nasty plot agility, rest, and then either deciding between a flying type move or a dark type move for the entirety of this matchup. And I ultimately decided on just Dual Dance. Dual Dance, I think, just made a lot more sense for my team, just for the fact that Dual Dance helps a lot more than it does with having just a singular move in that regards. But we have Agility and Nasty Plot. So basically, the idea is this: I Agility up, and before Rotom Wash comes in, and then I click Nasty Plot, and then he has to click um, Volt Switch. He clicks Volt Switch. I then have to land a Hurricane as Weavile comes in. Ice Shard, unless he's Adamant Banded and gets relatively on max roll, Ice Shard will not kill me. So I get the KO on him. Then he brings this back in. Then I go for the Fiery Wrap. I have a chance to flinch, and if he's not super Spadef, then I can actually just straight up kill with a Hurricane. And essentially speaking, I could just straight up win the game. Unless he's got E-Speed on Zygarde, which Zygarde could have E-Speed this matchup. But the problem with having E-Speed in that match is that if I kill something with Zeraora with Plasma Fist, on the next turn, Extreme Speed actually cannot be designed to kill me, because I would actually get Volt Absorb, because Plasma Fist allows normal type moves for the next turn after to be electric moves, and I would actually get a Volt Absorb boost from that. So he's definitely got to be very careful how he plays around this. But I think Horus can definitely put in a lot of work as a good breaker this matchup. Again, if we don't have a lot of defense in this team, it's going to be more like a hyper offensive team this week. So definitely some very careful planning right here. This team has kind of been defined as more of a hyper offensive, which I'm not really that type of a hyper offensive player. But I think we have the team that can just do a lot of work. This matchup is a little bit of a rough matchup. I kind of don't really know what I want to do against Harb. So if I lose to Harb, it's not going to be the end of the world. And again, we went 4-0 to start the season, so I don't mind if we lose here. But if we can keep this winning streak alive, I think that would be really, really, really cool. So yeah, but that being said, though, I'm gonna stop wasting you guys' time. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Join the First Soccer Crew today because you'll be feeling the king of the crew. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time. And until next time, everybody, peace.